So here we are again. Let me make sure that the video is working. Turn down the volume on my phone. How's everybody doing today? I hope you're doing well. If this video finds you, if the video is actually playing right now, I don't know. I didn't think to have this up on my phone already, so I'm going to have to get it ready on my phone. Isn't it nice how prepared I am? And I feel like I'm about to sneeze. So fair warning, I'm probably about to sneeze. And I'm on the phone. Okay, cool. I still feel like I'm about to sneeze. And my shirt's kind of wrinkly. And I just washed this shirt, but I hadn't folded everything yet. So I guess I probably should have folded everything once I got it out of the laundry, because now the shirt's kind of wrinkly. Oh well, what are you gonna do about it? But I found this shirt recently. Last time I did laundry, turned this shirt up, and love this Batman shirt. I love any Batman shirt. Any shirt that I have with Batman on it is a shirt that I enjoy. But I got this one at Party City years ago, back when they were still open, and you can see it says "Bam" on it. So it's a very Bronze Age looking Batman. It's not specifically an Adam West Batman. I think it was before they had the rights to do merchandise for the Adam West Batman. So I don't think they were allowed to yet. But you can tell they were thinking of the Adam West Batman when they put that big "Bam" on there. So that was fun. Al Davis is here, says, bless you in advance. Well, it feels like it went away. So, you know what I hate worse than having a big sneeze is feeling like you have a big sneeze and then it just goes away, because then I'm like mentally preparing myself. And if you guys have heard me, I know I've sneezed on these streams before, and if you've heard me, you'd remember it. It's a big old sneeze, and so I have to mentally prepare myself. Well, thank you for blessing me anyway. I will always take blessings, like. But yeah, I was mentally preparing myself. I know I'm gonna sneeze. And then it just goes away. So I don't know what the deal is. Al Davis says we're just watching some conspiracy type stuff about the Freud family. Quite interesting. I heard a crazy conspiracy theory that once Freud met time travelers and went to a small town in Southern California in the late 1980s and helped some kids finish their history report. And he got arrested while he was at a mall there. But somehow those records of his arrest have disappeared. Nobody knows what happened to those arrest records, but supposedly a bunch of historical figures were involved in this event. Beethoven was there, and Joan of Arc, and Genghis Khan, and they like terrorized a mall for a brief period of time. Crazy stuff. So yeah. So apparently he went. Yeah, Beethoven. Yeah, he went by the name of Dave Beethoven because they used some fake names. So they wouldn't know that they were historical figures, and I believe Freud went by the name of Dennis Froude. So it's a bunch of crazy names that they had: Maxine of Arc and Abraham Lincoln. Anyway, so today I have to open. I'm going to finally start on opening up all these Masters of the Universe Origins from the cartoon collection, the 2000X cartoon collection. Today I have for you Evil-Lyn, the evil warrior goddess. So yeah, here's a lovely piece of artwork on the back. And while this is based on the cartoon, I don't feel like this artwork is done very much in the style of the cartoon. Now, I'm not complaining. This is beautiful artwork. I've said very complimentary things about this artist before on here. His art kind of reminds me a little bit of Neil Adams, one of my personal favorite comic book artists of all time. A little bit of Alan Davis in there, that kind of style to it. Very lush, very fluid, very got kind of a romantic sort of not like romantic like falling in love, but romantic as in stirring intense emotions. You got Skeletor looming in the background, Evil-Lyn herself, Teela back here defending herself, blocking a strike with her staff, as seen on the beginning. Fit wand into hand, and then we get cross-sell artwork, and I do have both these other figures to open up in the future. Those will be coming up soon. Man-at-Arms and Mossman. And I did get this one cheap off of Amazon, which I figured would have... It is a great image, actually. I agree. I did get this one cheap off of Amazon, which I figured would mean that the package was kind of damaged, and it is. But what I did not expect was that, and what I suspect happened with this figure is I believe that somebody already opened her up. Yeah, look at that. So not only was this figure about to fall off the package, which is why I decided I'm going to open her up first, she was staying on well enough that I figured I could wait a little bit, but I didn't want to wait too long. I definitely wanted to get her opened up first before all the other ones. And I have opened up 2 cartoon collection figures on this channel so far. I opened up He-Man himself, which I did have him over here at one point. Hopefully I still do. Yeah, here we go. Yeah, we got He-Man over here. So I'd opened He-Man a while back, and I was pretty impressed with the He-Man figure. So I said I'm definitely going to wind up getting more of these because I was kind of late to the party on these for whatever reason. I think I was just distracted. I think I had other He-Man stuff I was dealing with at the time. And finally, I saw him on Amazon, and I'm like, you know what? I'm going to go ahead and get that cartoon collection He-Man because that 2000X one, because I want to check this out. And almost didn't get him, almost, because I already had the one from the regular Origins line. And I'm like, do I really need another 2000X He-Man? But I noticed, well, he's more based on the cartoon, and the other one's more based on the toy. So that justifies it, right? That's enough to justify it, right? Right? Okay. And the funny thing is, since then, I've bought actually a couple of more of these guys for customizing purposes, because he's actually got a lot of good custom parts. He-Man's almost always a good base for custom figures anyway. So I just went ahead and anytime I see one on there for cheap, for like the $15 range, I'll go ahead and pick one up. But not only is the package almost entirely removed, it's only sealed up here at the top, but Evil-Lyn, she's just kind of rattling around there in the loose in the package. So no rubber tabs to cut this time because somebody already did it for me. And I was afraid at first. I was like, oh no, her wand's missing. And that was something where I was like, you want to give me a figure that's already been opened. Okay, fair enough. I did pay a cheap price for this on Amazon. So whatever. But don't give me an incomplete figure. But thankfully, you can see it in there. Her wand is in there. It's just kind of behind her in the package. So let's go ahead and open her up. There's no bio or anything on here. It just says as seen on the beginning. So we've already been over everything. Hey, she is on an unpunched card. The little space is still in there. So that's funny. Anyway, let's go ahead and get her opened up. One thing I do want to point out is that the 2000X version of Castle Grayskull had like a window, the toy, had a window in it that was kind of shaped like the power sword, and it could light up almost like a bat signal kind of thing. And you can see that on the 2000X one, but it got way simplified and almost just kind of looks kind of like an upside down cross, but that's supposed to be representative of the power sword. So I just want to point that out. And He-Man's power sword wasn't even really shaped like a cross on that one anyway. It was kind of like a crab, kind of shaped like a crab there at the, you see, if I hide the blade, it looks kind of like a crab. Hey, I could if I could get one of these to 3D print, I could make one in a light green and give it to Clawful, make it the same color as Clawful's mace, and then he could have a Clawful sword. All right, so I seem to remember Evil-Lyn on the cartoon as having a cape, and I could be mistaken about that. So it's been a while since I watched the cartoon, and I might just be mentally remembering her as having a cape. That might be one of those Mandalorian effect kind of things. But I seem to remember having a cape, and like with the Filmation cartoon collection, which I know that one, I know she had a cape on that cartoon. She also does not have a cape, but you can see the back of her. This is like a dress almost, but the back of her armor, it does have this kind of long skirt piece to it, which I really like. And her arms seem really loose. So like I said, I think somebody had this actually out of the package and decided that they didn't really want her and decided to sell her. And she comes apart really easily at the middle. So, and her thighs are very, very thick and muscular. She'd be a good base figure to make the Revelation Evil-Lyn, I think, once she turns into uh, Dark-Lyn or God-Lyn or whatever you want to call that version. So here's what she looks like without the skirt, and damn, she definitely does her squats. I'm just saying, like, I'm not trying to be dirty-minded about the action figure, but there's definitely some muscle tone on, and look at those thighs. Like I said, uh, they're doing more. This is going to seem such a non sequitur, but it actually loops back around. They're doing more figures for Masters of the WWE Universe, which I'm really excited about. I'd seen they were doing Heartbreak Kid and Hollywood Hogan, and they were doing a Fright Zone ring, which looks like it's just a repaint of the Grayskull ring that was going to come with Scott Hall and Kevin Nash, that were going to have like separate figures of them, and then like a too bad body that you could put them both onto, and a few other characters. I forget who, but those were the main ones that kind of stuck out in my mind. And I'm like, dude, the Masters of the WWE Universe figure that I really want to see is Rhea Ripley. Like, she's one that I'm just kind of like, I want her as a He-Man character. I feel like she would fit in with Eternia perfectly. You just do the Superstars version. She wouldn't even have to have any like He-Man type elements added to her. Just do her as she is. She'd fit right into that world, I'm telling you. But yeah, they could use that for Rhea Ripley's thighs. Imagine with the tattoos on there, that could work. But this joint does seem a little loose. You can see how that's kind of wobbly. And I was thinking maybe the skirt was holding it in place, but the arms are kind of loose. And I don't know if this is because, like I said, somebody opened this figure before, that maybe they just had loose joints from them messing around with it. But she does have some loose joints, at least on my version anyway. So, and then I'd seen where some people had gotten this figure, and the paint applications on her breastplate, you can see where she's got those kind of bones on her breastplate, they'd be kind of really sloppy looking. But you can see, like, the ones that I have on mine, they're not 100% perfect, and they do look a little uneven. I think some of that is by design. I think that some of this it's not supposed to be like completely symmetrical, since they're just kind of bones arranged on her breastplate. But they're nowhere near as bad as some of the other ones I've seen. So I think she's like a slightly later release of this figure, after or at least later in the production run, after they adjusted that somewhat. Now I'm gonna say this, like I like to say a lot of the times with these figures that are based off of other media, is I'm probably gonna have some criticisms about this costume, or compliments about this costume, or what have you. And there's probably going to be things that I'm going to say where I like this, I don't like this about this costume, because that tends to happen. And I just want to be very clear about this. Whenever I make these kind of comments, it should be taken as a criticism of the design as a whole. So that applies back to her design on the cartoon show. So, for example, if I say something about this shade of purple, I'm not saying anything about this shade of purple right now, but I'm just using an example. If I said anything positive or negative about this shade of purple, you ain't got to tell me, well, that's how it was on the cartoon. I know that's how it was on the cartoon, but I'm judging it according to its own merits. So take it as a criticism of her design of the cartoon, or a compliment about her design of the cartoon, or what have you. That's how you should look at this going forward. So Al Davis says she upgrades to Medilyn, then Fidilyn, then Babylon. Yeah, I'm working on based on the Revolution cartoon. She's not really ready to show off yet, but so I got to put a couple more coats of paint here and there. But I'm working on Evil-Lyn as a cosmic enforcer, and actually figure that. And she's turning out pretty cool so far. Like I said, I just kind of put a couple more layers of paint in some certain spots. But I like to call that version of the character Neutral Lyn, because Zodak's supposed to be neutral. So, but yeah, I do think this it's got this kind of gold color on it in various places, and I do kind of feel like that is kind of a little bit of a strange choice. I kind of feel like silver would probably work better in terms of being with all this purple, like various shades of purple and black. She appears to have black boots with kind of skull knee pads, and the knee pads are like on this kind of little stem that sticks up out of the boot, and almost kind of looks like she has spoons kind of glued to the fronts of her boots. So that's kind of an odd choice. I think it actually looks kind of cool, but it is still kind of an odd choice. They're kind of flat on the back, so they're not very effective spoons. But yeah, mostly like so there's various shades of, there's like a very dark purple and a very light purple, and almost light enough I would call it lavender, but still not quite lavender. And then another purple that's kind of somewhat in between. And her breastplate is mostly colored in that in between purple, with the white detailing on it for the bone. And then she's got a lighter purple collar, kind of Maleficent looking. Kind of reminds me of Maleficent a little bit. She's got a great head sculpt, like this little smirk on her face. See if I can get that to focus a little bit better. She looks a little bit like Cher. And I don't know if that was intentional on the cartoon, if they wanted her to look like Cher on the cartoon. Cher, like, probably would have been a good choice to play Evil-Lyn, like, back in the day. I think she probably would have been a little too old to play Evil-Lyn by the time this show came out. But, back in the 80s, she definitely could have done it. I think she was only, like, maybe in her 40s, maybe pushing 50 back in the 80s. But I think, like, she still looked good enough. She could have pulled off Evil-Lyn, I think. And her career was, like, on fire at that time. So there is, try to pull her head off, but I want to pull her apart at the middle again. Origins females, it's always kind of tricky for me to pull off their heads. It looks like there's a little bit of gold at the end. It almost looks like earrings. It kind of looks like earrings, but it's not earrings because that's not where ears are. But I think it's probably supposed to make you think of earrings. And then she's got little gold spikes all around the crest on her helmet, little fin on her helmet. And one thing she does not have, which is kind of surprising to me, considering how this Evil-Lyn has more of a bone motif going on than any other version of Evil-Lyn I've ever seen. She does not have the little skull at the top of her helmet, which Evil-Lyn usually has. So you would think, with all this bone stuff going on, she would have that skull there, but she does not. So that's kind of an interesting choice. And I really like the bracers on her wrist, and those to me are very reminiscent of Skeletor's forearms in the original cross-cell artwork. Not the original figure, but the original cross-cell artwork. And of course, when the Four Horsemen did not the first 2000X Skeletor, but when they not any 2000X Skeletor, but when they did their next take on Skeletor, when they did classics, they gave Skeletor the forearms that looked like the cross-cell artwork. So obviously they were fans of that. So this design of Evil-Lyn is a bit more simplified than that initial Four Horsemen figure, because it's supposed to be her on the cartoon, and they simplified her look on the cartoon a little bit for the ease of animation. But I was never able to find the 2000X Evil-Lyn, and I got kind of bitter about it, and that was kind of part of what led to me just kind of abandoning the 2000X line. While there were some great figures in that line, and I did enjoy it, I was never able to find Evil-Lyn, and I figured I'd never be able to find Evil-Lyn. I was at the mercy of scalpers if I did, and I kind of just gave up on 2000X at that point, because if I can't have Evil-Lyn, what's even the point? and that was the end of that. And I didn't really start seriously collecting any Masters of the Universe figures again because I had all the vintage ones that I really wanted, and 2000X was just kind of done. I didn't have any more until Classics started, and even then, I missed the boat on that first He-Man figure. And I think they re-released He-Man, and they put out Beastman around the same time that they re-released He-Man, and I think they had Scareglow around that time. So I wound up getting all three of those figures, and then I wound up starting to collect that line, and really enjoyed Masters of the Universe Classics. Haven't really talked about them too much on this channel because that line was long gone by the time I started doing YouTube videos in earnest. Like, the thing that started me doing YouTube videos was talking about the Origins figures. So I always say this is the channel that Masters of the Universe Origins built. So yeah, I haven't talked about Classics too much on this channel, but I do love Classics. But hey, they've been doing so much good stuff lately, Mattel, with Origins and Masterverse and now Chronicles and the Core line that they're doing, which hopefully will have more stuff than besides just the movie. I mean, we've already seen at least one Core figure that was not based on the movie with the Revenge of Skeletor. So anyway, let's go ahead and talk about our articulation. So Evil-Lyn can look up about that far, look down about that far, tilt her head kind of quickly from side to side, rotate the head all the way around. Yeah, you see what I'm talking about, how it doesn't stay together at the middle very well? It just fell right off. Just fell right off. And I wasn't even really trying to move that. It just kind of, where it pinched in the middle of the body. So the head rotates all the way around. Of course, the arms rotate all the way around the shoulders. And like I said, on mine, they're kind of loose. And her arms are going to kind of bump into her shirt where it flares out there a little bit. That's just to be expected. She's got a single joint the arms raised up to the sides about that far. Now, I'm not going to try to take this whole vest piece off, but it does look like it is removable if you want to try to take it off yourself. And I would assume that underneath she probably has her chest painted for modesty. And yeah, I do see a little bit of purple paint on her tummy right here, and I'm guessing that extends up to her bosoms, so that if a kid does take this off, he doesn't have a topless Evil-Lyn running around. They have Barbies with that you can take their shirts off and then they're topless underneath. But I guess a girl's doll that's made for clothes change in, a fashion doll like that, is a different thing from an action figure that's more made for boys to play with. So it's like girls in a changing room versus the boys peeking into the changing room. You know what I'm saying? Like it's that kind of thing. So I do think that's appropriate that they do that. Even though that did give me a little more work when I was doing that Neutral-Lyn action figure, because I did not want her to have that actually. But I'll do a short about that when it's finished. So you guys will get to see it. So she's got a single joint of articulation at the elbow, bends about that far, good range of motion there at the elbow, and then that rotates all the way around, and then her wrists rotate all the way around, and her left wrist has a horizontal hinge on it, which moves back and forth. And she's got a spell casting hand, which I really like, especially on an Evil-Lyn figure, so she can cast some spells. Yeah, there we go. That's cool. All right. And then it's got a horizontal hinge on the right hand as well. The waist rotates all the way around. And like I said, she doesn't stay together too well at the waist on mine, unfortunately. Evil-Lyn can, speak of the devil, Evil-Lyn can kick up about that far. The skirt piece does, kind of hamper that slightly, but not a whole lot. It just kind of flexes out of the way. She can do the splits, no problem. She got a single joint of articulation at the knee, bends in about that far, rotates all the way around. And I can't tell if her boots are black or if they're just a really, really dark purple. It's kind of hard for me to tell. I was thinking they were black. They might actually be that dark purple color. Let me see if I can shed a little light on the subject. Yeah, they are kind of a darker purple. So that's nice. Evil-Lyn's foot can point down about that far and point up about that far. And then that rotates all the way around. So that is the story of Evil-Lyn's articulation and how all of that works. Now, they did take a lot of liberties in redesigning Evil-Lyn for the 2000X line. And I will say that, like, I approve of these decisions. I think that that they did a really good job of redesigning this character. I'm gonna see if I can get her so where she can stand up, because I want to just go ahead and have her standing up when I go ahead and do the thumbnail once I'm done with this video. Yeah, she's standing just fine. All right, cool. So even with those tiny little feet, you can get her to stand just fine. So, of course, infamously, the original Evil-Lyn was mostly a repurposing of Tila, and she was almost entirely a repaint of Tila. At least from the neck down, she was entirely a repaint of Tila. But they did give her a new head, which the original Evil-Lyn was sculpted like Sophia Loren, as I always like to point out, because Sophia Loren is like one of the most beautiful women who ever lived. So good choice there. And like I said, this one is made to look like Cher, who also was one of the most beautiful women who ever lived. Like, I think that if you were coming up around that time and you were thinking of a Masters of the Universe movie like back in the 80s, Cher might have been somebody that you would have thought of to play Evil-Lyn back then anyway. So I'm guessing somebody who worked on this cartoon design or the figure or whatever probably had that thought in their head at some point. Cher would have been a really good Evil-Lyn. And Cher was like a big actress at the time. She was on fire. She was doing like Moonstruck and Witches of Eastwick, and she'd been in Silkwood, I think. She'd been in a bunch of stuff. And, did she actually win an Oscar? I know she was nominated for an Oscar. Let me look that up. Cher, I think she won for Moonstruck. I think that's what she. So I put in Cher, and the very first movie it recommends to me is Burlesque. Of all the movies Cher's ever, maybe that was like the last movie she was in. So Cher, Oscar. It says Cher Oscar win. So I guess she did win an Oscar. Yeah, Cher won the Academy Award for Best Actress for her role as Loretta Castroni in the 1987 romantic comedy Moonstruck. That's what I thought. She was competing against nominees including Meryl Streep and Glenn Close. So Cher was good enough in that movie. Yeah, it is Cher. Mask and Mermaid. Yeah, Mask. That was another one that around that time she was in Mask, and I loved Mask. That was an awesome movie. I loved that movie. And Mermaids. Yeah, she was in. I never saw Mermaids, which is surprising because I had a huge crush on Winona Ryder. So you think I would have watched Mermaids? And I did. And you guys know this. I've mentioned this before. I did later on have a huge crush on Christina Ricci as well, but I did not at that time because she would have been just like a little bitty thing, and that would have been really creepy for anybody to look. Maybe I guess if you were like 5 years old and you saw that movie, but I was a little older than that at the time. I was more into Winona Ryder. I didn't get into Christina Ricci till like much later. What was the opposite of Sex when she was in that. She was kind of thick when she was in that. That's what I'm talking about. But yeah. Anyway, but yeah, Cher was like a really big name actress in the 1980s. So like in the early 80s, she was already big, and she was like at her height by like the late 80s, and she was so big by the late 80s. She was somebody that you heard her name bandied around a lot to play Catwoman. When eventually they were going to make Batman 2, people were saying Catwoman should be in it. And the main names I remember hearing for Catwoman was Cher and Madonna. I remember hearing both of them kind of bandied about for Catwoman at the time. Thankfully, neither one of them got the part. And I think Cher probably would have done a good job of it, even though maybe she was a little old by that point. But I mean, I think she still could have pulled it off. Maybe Madonna could have done it, maybe. But the right actress got the role, the one that was meant to get that role. And oddly enough, she was a co-star with Cher in Witches of Eastwick, which was Michelle Pfeiffer. The one who was destined for it. Could anybody have played Catwoman better than Michelle Pfeiffer? I doubt it. Al Davis says Sean Young and Annette Bening. That's true. Annette Bening was the first choice to play Catwoman, oddly enough. And I can't imagine her doing a better job. No, she's a great actress, don't get me wrong, but I can't imagine her being better than Michelle Pfeiffer in that part. Michelle Pfeiffer put a live bird in her mouth, for crying out loud. Held a live bird in her mouth and let it out. She went hard, absolutely hard, playing that role. She did not need to go that hard, but she did. And nobody could have played that part as well as Michelle Pfeiffer. Michelle Pfeiffer, just like that. That's it. She's Catwoman. Period. Nobody's better than her. Not even Julie Newmar. Not even Eartha Kitt. Like not even Lee Merriweather, who's the only actress that played Catwoman that I've met, and she's a sweetheart. Christina Ricci later on played Catwoman, oddly enough. So it all kind of comes around. She did the voice of Catwoman on the Amazon Batman. Ted, where's the goddamn corkscrew? Says Al Davis. But yeah, Sean Young tried to get an audition for Catwoman because she was originally going to be Vicky Vale and fell off a horse and broke her arm, and Kim Basinger wound up playing Vicky Vale instead, but Tim Burton was afraid of her and hid under his desk. Bong Donkey says that Mask is a good film and that Eric Stoltz is a solid actor. Yes, and I'm also a big fan of Back to the Future, and he almost played Marty McFly and wound up getting fired because, honestly, again, that's another situation where he just wasn't the right guy to play Marty McFly. Being a great actor is one thing, and he is a great actor. Yeah, I would even, if someone said he was a better actor than Michael J. Fox, I wouldn't even argue with you on that point. But he wasn't Marty McFly. Michael J. Fox was always supposed to be Marty McFly. Michelle Pfeiffer was always supposed to be Catwoman. That's just how things worked out. So sometimes destiny takes a hand and things move in the wrong way. Bong Donkey asks, are you a Crispin Glover fan? Oh yeah. Speaking of actors that could have played Batman characters, Crispin Glover is another guy that's always been rattling around in my head to play the Joker. And in fact, he would probably be my second choice as far as actors that I would get to play the Joker that haven't ever played that character before. Like if I had to cast somebody to play the Joker without casting somebody who's already done it, without being like, oh well, let's get Joaquin Phoenix because he was good or whatever. Crispin Glover, and he'd probably be my second choice anyway. Just even above somebody like Joaquin Phoenix, who was excellent. I haven't seen the second one, but in the first one he was excellent. But my number one guy for playing the Joker is, and probably always will be until I actually see it, until somebody finally has the balls to do it, Willem Dafoe. I always thought Willem Dafoe would have been the best Joker, and I stand on that. And even in 1989, even when they wound up casting Jack Nicholson, I'm like, okay, I suppose I get one of the greatest actors of all time to do it. Sure. You could have got Willem Dafoe. At that time, Willem Dafoe was not that big of a star anyway. And I don't think he was that big of a star until he played the Green Goblin. I think that was what really made him, like, he was always like a well-respected actor, but that was the thing that really made Willem Dafoe, really put him on the map as far as being like everybody knows who Willem Dafoe is now. But yeah, Back to the Future being like one of my favorite movies of all time, then yeah, Crispin Glover, he's one that I really like. So love Crispin Glover. So and he's a little bit nuts. So I think a lot of him playing the Joker wouldn't even be acting. But if you saw him in Charlie's Angels, where he was in that, and he played the creepy thin man who didn't even have that character. I don't think he even had a name, at least not in the first one. They might have given him one in the second one. I don't remember. But in that, like the look that he had, and he never spoke a line of dialogue in that movie, but he just kind of had this demeanor to him. And I'm like, dude, he could play the Joker. Like no question. That was the thing that like I loved him in Back to the Future and a lot of the other stuff you'd see him in the 80s. Like what was it, Friday the 13th Part 5? Was that the one he was in? Was he in Part 5? Was it part 4? I don't remember. It was one of the middle Friday the 13th. One of the ones where Jason was dead or died. I think he died. Was that the one with Corey Feldman in it? I think that was the one like where they killed off Jason. And then there's like one or two movies. I'm not too overly familiar with the Friday the 13th movies because I haven't watched them all multiple times. Like I think everything like I think 4 and 5 I've only seen like maybe once a piece. But like 6 is my favorite Friday the 13th movie. Jason Lives. And 2 is my second favorite Friday the 13th movie. It's 4. He's in 4. Okay. Al Davis says that he's in 4, I think. Yeah, see, it's hard for me to remember with those kind of middle ones. I wasn't even a huge fan of part 3. And a lot of people say part 3 is one of the best ones, but I don't really like part 3. I don't really want to get too deep into the weeds as far as Friday the 13th goes, because I already get people criticizing me for not talking about the figure enough on these videos. But 6 is my favorite. I love 6. 6 to me is like, if I think of a Friday the 13th movie to watch, that's the one I want to watch. 2 is like a close second favorite. I really like 2. The first one's good, but the rest of them are all just kind of okay slasher movies, I guess. But yeah, I love 6 and I love 2. And Jason versus Freddy versus Jason. I love that one. So that was the one that actually made me a fan of Jason, because like I wasn't really a fan of the Friday the 13th movies at all until I saw Freddy versus Jason. And I was a big fan of Nightmare on Elm Street. So I went in there rooting for Freddy and wound up rooting for Jason. Jason won me over with that movie. Bong Donkey says 2 is my favorite. Yeah, 2 is awesome. I love 2. 2 is probably the best of those movies. And if that one's not the best of those movies, then it would be 6. And the thing I like about 6 is that 6 kind of has its tongue in its cheek. It doesn't take itself too seriously. I mean, they do like a James Bond gun barrel parody at the beginning of that one. So they are clearly not taking it too seriously. And that's part of why I like it, is because they're not taking it that seriously anymore. They're just having some fun with it. And Jason's a zombie. Sure, whatever. Yeah, that's fine. And to me, that's like the definitive version of Jason. I think about Jason, I think about zombie Jason. That's like his ultimate final form. That's what Jason should be. He should be this zombie swamp muck monster kind of thing. You know, Al Davis says, I love Tom Savini's makeup in Corey Feldman's bedroom. Love those masks and props. Yeah, Tom Savini is just one of the all-time greats, isn't he? Like, yeah, like I remember he was the one who designed the original Jason makeup in the first movie, right? And he didn't want to come back for originally because he didn't want, from what I understand, he didn't want to come back because he didn't want to do Jason as a monster, but he did eventually come back, I suppose. So it's all good. So maybe he just figured, hell, they're going to do this thing. I might as well be there for it. Whatever. So I know a lot of people were against the idea of bringing back Jason in part 2 and having him become the villain. So I haven't even talked about this wand yet, this staff. So let's go ahead and talk about this. So this is in two parts. I don't believe it's intended to come apart. It seems like it's kind of locked together fairly well, but it can kind of rotate. It's got an articulation. I don't know what the point of that is. I don't know why you would rotate it, but it can rotate. I figure that's more of just kind of like an accidental side effect of them make it in 2 parts. And I figure they probably made it in 2 parts for, to cut down on seams in various places. And they call it a wand on the package, but it's definitely a staff. Like, look how long that thing is. And I want to say the 2000X version, the design of the original figure, she had a longer staff as well. And this is where that loose arm kind of becomes an issue, because this thing is so heavy, it actually weighs down her arm, so she can't quite hold it. She can't quite hold it up like she should be able to, but it fits in her hand just fine. And I don't believe that. I haven't heard anybody say anything about her arms being loose, so I suspect that that's just my example has loose arms. But Hopefully, if you buy one, it doesn't have loose arms. Hopefully, if you already bought one, it doesn't have loose arms. But yeah, her arms are pretty loose on mine. Al Davis says, "Does Savini have a makeup FX studio in Pittsburgh?" Or I'm sorry, Bong Donkey asks Al Davis, "Does Savini have a makeup effects school in Pittsburgh?" And Al Davis responds, "I think so. He definitely has a special effects makeup school. Cool, and Pittsburgh would make sense too." So that's where we're at as far as the chat goes. So and like I said, I think some of the earlier figures would have had that messed up paint on the bodice, but mine does not. So if you're somebody who was thinking about buying this figure and you didn't because you saw the sloppy paint on some of the other ones, well, you again, that might be another reason to go ahead and consider picking her up, because mine doesn't have that. Yours might not either. So it might be worth a gamble to order her online. Or I know that these figures have been starting to pop up at Walmart here recently. I just finally saw cartoon collection, the Wave 1 cartoon collection. I saw He-Man and Triclops, but in Stratos. That was the first wave. I saw those pop up at Walmart recently. So you might be able to find her at Walmart coming up soon. I guess they were maybe saving those for when the movie was coming out. Bong Donkey says Kevin Smith He-Man has revived the series. Well, in a way, I think that it definitely did, because I think that that was what led to them doing Masterverse. Certainly, remember the first wave of Masterverse was entirely based on the Revelation cartoon, and I kind of suspect that was something that Mattel, they would have known that series was coming, and they would have had that in their pocket as far as selling Origins at retail. They'll be like, "Hey, I know He-Man seems like a dead brand right now, but we got like a hot new series coming on Netflix. Kevin Smith is doing an animated series, and we're working on that movie." And if I was the toy buyer for Walmart or whoever, when they said movie, that's where I would be like, bro, y'all have been trying to do this Masters of the Universe movie literally since the 90s. And it just got canceled again, didn't it? Like, yeah. I want to say like at that point, it was the guy who was supposed to play Atom Smasher was supposed to be like in the live action He-Man movie at some point. And you can see like designs on a live action He-Man movies going back to the 90s, and most of them are pretty horrible. So I'm glad that it didn't get made until it got made now, when it's got a director who actually knows what he's doing. So but Al Davis says, I thought it had done some damage, but Alan convinced me to give it another go. Yeah, I definitely think you should, because I definitely think it's a better series than its reputation suggests. I think people were a little too hard on that series for understandable reasons. I get why. And I've addressed before what I think were the main problems with that show were actually more to do with the marketing than anything else. And if they had marketed that show slightly different, I think it would have had a much more positive reception. Yeah, Al Davis says, not sure if they marketed it well. Maybe pitch the series as setup or a prequel. Yeah, see, exactly. Bong Donkey says Dolph Lundgren He-Man was funny. Yeah, I love that movie though, and I love Dolph Lundgren as He-Man. I thought he was great. I thought, like, like a lot of people be criticizing his performance in that, and he was a pretty green actor at that time. If we're being honest, he's gotten a lot better as an actor in the decades since. He's grown a lot as in his acting skills. But that having been said, I kind of feel like in that first movie, He-Man didn't really need to be played by a great actor. You just needed a guy that just kind of he had to have the right sort of charisma, and I think he did have enough of that sort of charisma to be that kind of like lawful good kind of character. And I believed him as being this lawful good kind of character. They didn't give him too much challenging to do as far as playing He-Man. He was kind of stoic, and occasionally would kind of laugh or smile, or be warm or something like that. And I thought he did a good job anytime he needed to do something like that. but mainly he just needed to be that kind of stalwart, classic, lawful good, altruistic kind of hero type character, and he managed to do that. You don't need an Oscar winner in there to play He-Man as he was written in that movie, but Dolph was able to pull it off, I think, and he definitely had the right look. I loved that feathered mullet. I thought that was a really good hairstyle for He-Man to have, like especially as like a live action version of He-Man in the late 1980s. Like I kind of feel like the Prince Valiant look of the Filmation cartoon would not have been what you would have ideally had as He-Man's haircut in a live action movie. And I know I just saw my Thunder Punch He-Man figure over here. So if we were going to look at the way that his hair was in the original figure, yeah, he's kind of under something, but I can't even get him out. So I got piles of stuff around here. It was like kind of like windswept looking thing. And you could try to style his hair like that in the movie, but it's supposed to look kind of like it's moving. So if you tried to sculpt his hair like that, it would just kind of like kind of they kind of got it. They kind of got it in a way where it was like not quite 80s hair metal, but still kind of like, I like the hairstyle is what I'm saying. I thought that worked for a live action He-Man hairstyle. And like, honestly, if I got a criticism about his hairstyle in the new movie, is that I kind of feel like it's a little too short and it could have been a little longer. I think. I mean, this is probably actually a good length for He-Man hair, and it's about the same length as the action figure, if we're being honest about it. But I kind of feel like in terms of, and they did try to get kind of that feathery sort of quality to it, which is nice. It's not bad He-Man hair, but I kind of feel like giving him a longer hairstyle would have looked better as far as the live action. This is just me kind of armchair quarterbacking a movie that hasn't even come out yet. But I'm just saying, from what I've seen, I think they probably could have gone with a little longer hair. I think that would have been good. Anyway, Evil-Lyn's a pretty great figure, and I'm really happy with how this turned out. Like I said, the thing that kind of... Oh, and I want to point out her skin, and this might be true of the cartoon. I don't remember. But her skin does look to be a little more Caucasian flesh than the original figure was supposed to be, like kind of like almost kind of like a pale gray. And you can see that with the 2000X Evil-Lyn that they did in the regular Origins line. That one was just a repaint of the regular Evil-Lyn. They didn't bother to sculpt anything new for her. And I kind of feel like if you wanted to get like one that looked more like the 2000X action figure, you could probably mix and match some parts. Like maybe put this skirt on that Evil-Lyn. I might do that too. I might play around with swapping around the parts and see what I can come up with. But I don't know if you could get this bodice to fit on that Evil-Lyn figure, because she's already got like the breastplate sculpted onto it. But you might could repaint all the skin parts to match if you wanted to. Maybe try to swap out the helmets. I don't know how feasible all that would be. But yeah, they did a great job with this figure, and I'm really happy with how she turned out. So far, I've been really impressed with all of the 2000X cartoon collection. I've only opened 3 so far, and the rest of them I looked at while they're in the package, and all of them seem pretty cool. I don't have any regrets so far as far as buying any of them. Bong Donkey says, "Have a good day, guys." You do the same. And Al Davis says, "You too, dude. Cheers." So, but we're just about wrapping this up anyway. So I would recommend this figure. I know like there probably are a lot of people, and I was a little gun shy about her at first too. With the sloppy paints on the breastplate that I was seeing a lot on social media, and thankfully when I did order her, like I said, I think they've corrected that problem, and it's not 100% even, but I don't think it's supposed to be 100% even anyway. I think like some of that is stylistic. And there are some places where I see where it's not quite perfect, but it's still like a lot better than some of the other ones I've seen. So I think they corrected that later in the run. So if you do buy her online, you might get one that's in more like mine than the really bad ones that we've seen later. Who knows? So personally, I repaint action figures myself all the time anyway. So I was like, well, if she is messed up, I'll just try to repaint it myself, and hopefully I can do something cool with her. But I'm not going to bother since I think that she looks fine like this. But that's it for this episode. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please make sure that you like and subscribe and all the fun YouTube stuff down below. Leave a comment and let me know what you think about Evil-Lyn and what you think about the character in general. What you think about this figure. We've opened a lot of Evil-Lyn figures on this channel. I'm a big fan of the character, obviously. God, what have we did the regular Origins version. We did the 2000X Origins version, not this one, but the one they did actually in the regular Origins line. We did the Revelation Evil-Lyn with the long coat. We did the Revelation Evil-Lyn that's the Dark Lyn, the God Lyn, whatever I like to call her Evil-Lyn. Or she has her He-Man powers. The movie Evil-Lyn, of course, the 1987 movie Evil-Lyn. My personal favorite Evil-Lyn figure so far, the new Eternia Evil-Lyn. I just think that figure is gorgeous, and she looks like Sophia Loren. Just throwing that out there. Mordlyn. Al Davis says, "Cheers, Alan. Also, as always, peace and love." Thanks, you too. You have a good one. Hope you have a good rest of your day. So yeah, and looking forward to more Evil-Lyn figures to come. Hopefully, the next what logically should be the next Evil-Lyn figure we open up should be one of the movie versions. And I know I got the Chronicles version. I got that pre-ordered on Big Bad Toy Store. So I want to make sure I didn't miss her and Tila. So I pre-ordered both of those on Big Bad Toy Store. I've got the Chronicles Skeletor on the way. I'm hoping to pick up Man-at-Arms and Triclops soon, since I know those are at Target. Yeah, that's next week, or next episode, not next week. I mean, I'm sure I'll have some to open up next week too, so I'll still have some. Next episode, I'm going to open up another 2000X series figure, but I haven't really decided which one to open up yet. So I've got a bunch of them. I got Prince Adam, I got Skeletor, I got Zodak, I got Man-at-Arms, I got Triclops. Why don't I go ahead and open up Triclops? I think I'll open up Triclops. I always kind of felt like on the Filmation cartoon, it seemed like Evil-Lyn and Triclops tended to work together a lot. So it makes sense to open up Triclops after I open up Evil-Lyn, right? Right? That makes sense. So yeah, we'll open up Triclops. But yeah, I've got what was the other cartoon collection that I had from 2000X? I think there was another one, but oh yeah, Beastman. I got Beastman. So we got like a lot of cool stuff to open up. So anyway, make sure that you like and subscribe and all the fun YouTube stuff down below. If you enjoyed this episode, you definitely want to like and subscribe. If you did not enjoy this episode, please like and subscribe anyway. Or give me a thumbs down. You know, engagement is engagement. You can give me a thumbs down. That's fine. I don't care. Leave a comment. I like it when you leave comments, even the negative ones. Al David says, or Maudlin. She did get a little Maudlin on 2000X, or not 2000, or in the Revelation in some scenes. You can tell Kevin Smith really liked that character and really liked writing that character, because he always gave her a lot of stuff to do. Like, she was always like the core of that show. Like, a lot of people talk about Tila stealing the spotlight, and for the first few episodes, yeah, Tila was definitely the protagonist, and was, I would say, at least like a co-protagonist for the remainder of the series. But that's kind of what I would expect out of He-Man anyway. I would want Tila to have a big part, obviously. So I wasn't complaining about that. But Evil-Lyn, I think, probably had a bigger part than any of the other villains, even Skeletor. Like, I kind of feel like Evil-Lyn got more to do than any other character, really, outside of maybe Tila and He-Man themselves. But I did really like how he handled Evil-Lyn, and like I said, I'm working on an action figure based on that particular version of Evil-Lyn, and where I kind of imagine her being at the end of that series. So what I would like to see if they ever did a third part after Revolution and Revelation, maybe I don't know, like Resolution, Revelation, Revolution, and Resolution. That would be the third part if they did a third part, right? That would be the thing that would make the most sense for them to call it. So Kevin Smith, if you're watching this, and if you do have plans for a third part, and if you were already calling it resolution, if that's already what you wanted to call it, great minds think alike, I guess. And if you weren't already thinking about that, hey, you can use that idea free of charge and just pretend like you already had that idea. I'll know the truth. And you know what I'll say? You know what I'll say if it happens? If Kevin Smith makes a third part of his He-Man series and he calls it Resolution, you know what I'm gonna say? You already know what I'm gonna say. What I say about King Randor. I'm gonna say that. I'm not saying that Kevin Smith watched these videos and heard me say he should do a third part and call it Resolution and then decided to do that. I'm not saying that's what happened. But I am saying if it was going to happen, if it was going to happen, this is the way it would happen. Me and my big ego. Anyway, well, that's it for this episode. We'll talk to you next time. Bye.